Bowls buddies, hello, good afternoon, welcome to another Friday, another horrible Friday actually, and another catch up with me, AC, going through some of the comments you lovely people have left on my recent videos, and that's what I need, more comments, the better, is what I say. First of all, gotta get it out of the way, thanks for joining me. Remember guys, if you enjoy these videos, please hit that like button, and if you're not already a Bowls buddy, please hit that subscribe button, it's absolutely free of charge, and don't forget to hit the notification bell for notifications of new content on this channel. So thank you very much indeed, and once again I have this pleasure of coming into your living rooms, bedrooms, wherever, and just entertaining you for 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, however long I can talk for. Before we get into it, I just want to remind you that Huddersfield Junior Bowling Association are trying to raise money, and for every pound they get donated, it will get matched. They're trying to hit a target of £5,000. I will put a link in the description. I did go into it in a bit more detail in last week's, Wednesday's, episode 7 I think it was. So if you can just have a look at that and maybe donate a quid or two, that would be absolutely fantastic. So I'll go straight into the comments, and these were from that last Friday's episode. And if you remember, we talked a little bit about possibly streaming games for betting companies. So Alan Reid, firstly, would it be possible to film and stream games using a drone? I don't know enough about the technology involved, but I've seen numerous clips where it's been used successfully in golf as an example. Secondly, after many years of playing flat green bowls, I made the decision to also join my local Crown Green club. When some sort of normality arrives, I'm really looking forward to the challenges that I know await me. Your output has been invaluable through what is a difficult time for all. Well, thanks very much, Alan. I know that you will enjoy Crown Green Bowls. I think it's a far more interesting game than flat green. Yes, flat green, there's a lot of tactics involved, but you tend to play team events rather than the one-on-one head-to-head challenge that really I think epitomises Crown Green Bowls and makes it the game it is. That's why people that play it love it so much, because I think they'll love that head-to-head challenge. You're not the only person to comment about using drones for filming. The point I was making, I don't know if they can use drones or not. I don't know what it would look like. I'm not an expert on that sort of thing. But the point I was making about the ease of filming flat green is basically the production company fix a camera at either end of the rink and leave it and walk away, and they just take the feed from it and they do the editing and go between the ends. They don't need cameramen almost. Whereas with Crown Green Bowls, you're always going to need at least one person, even if you use a drone, to control the drone. And as soon as you start needing cameramen and drone operators, you get into a more money, more expensive, more complex. That was the only point I was making, really. With it being played on such a confined area, flat green bowls is so easy to film. And if you look at the way that they film indoor bowls for BBC TV, say for the World Championships, they have a camera behind the end screen, and then they have an overhead camera that can be moved to go over their head, and so it's a little bit more complex. But for live streaming, you really only need 2 cameras. So that was the only point I was making. But thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you for leaving a comment. Gary Nicholson, how about a piece about junior Waterloo winners who have gone on to be top players as adults? Yeah, that could be pretty interesting. You'd be surprised at the number that haven't gone on to just do what you thought they might have done. But there are a few who stick out. Stuart Moore, Gareth Gwilym, Just off the top of my head, without having to think, I never got close. I don't think Gary or Graham did either. Don't know. I haven't looked at it, but I will look at it, and that's probably a good idea for a little piece. Dewithia. Bowler's World started in the 70s, internet 90s, a great 20 years when everyone bought a daily paper. Things change, it's called progress, keep up the good work. Yeah, I can't argue with your sentiments, and all I would say is it's because of progress that Crying Green Bowls is struggling. In my personal opinion, there's so many other things that people can do nowadays. Crying Green Bowls is way down the list, whereas maybe 50 years ago it was near the top. And the fact that, you know, we don't have a national paper or any sort of media presence is a sign of that. And yeah, it is progress. I know exactly what you're saying. Society has progressed. Unfortunately, Crying Green Bowls hasn't kept pace with that progression, and we are suffering because of that, unfortunately. But thank you very much for the comment, and thanks for getting in touch. It's much appreciated. John Austin, now this was on the Bowler's World Blast from the Past that I did on Monday. John Austin has commented, looked at the first magazine, so page 2 of a young Sir Bob, you borrowed it from Roy Nicholson. Maybe a topic. How many top bowlers from a town like Halifax? I got 5 or 6. Well, yeah, fortunately Roy Nicholson did lend me a copy of the first Bowler's World. Very heavily Yorkshire based, as it was back then. I think they were based in Cleckheaton, so nearly everything in it was about Yorkshire. And Bob Hitchin was on the inside page as a 17-year-old, I think it was 1977. A very interesting article, and you raise a good point. Yeah, a town like Halifax is not a massive place, and how many good bowlers could I think of? Well, if you take the surrounding areas to Halifax, so maybe Sowerby Bridge and Elland and places like that, you've certainly got Bob, you've got Graham Wilson, you've got Graham Hickey, Derek Marshall from Hillcrest, going back into the day, maybe even Alf Milnes. I think he was from Sowerby Bridge. Did he win the Waterloo? Yes. Who else was I thinking? Richard Helliwell, Ian Bottomley. That's maybe 7 or 8. I'm sure that there could be more. But you take the Halifax area as a whole anyway, the fact that the Halifax League was a league that I played in 23 years ago, 22 years ago, just because it was such a good standard, and you played away from home, you had no practice, you had a difficult game on, and the whole of Yorkshire was a hotbed. You know, Huddersfield had hundreds of teams, Halifax the same, Bradford, Leeds. Not as strong now, but nowhere's as strong as it was. But yeah, Halifax is a tremendous area, and I think it helped having a competition like Hillcrest. Brought a lot of the good locals on. I mean, when I think of Hillcrest, I think of Rock and Granite, the Holroyd twins. You know, they were good players, won the Yorkshire Merit, and you could go on. I think I've come up with about 10 there without a lot of thought, and I'm sure with a bit more thought I could come up with maybe another 10. But yeah, Halifax, just a fairly small town, but a lot of good players. Very interesting, John. Thank you very much for that. Couple of nice comments about my daughter's voice, which is always nice. I think she's got a couple of extra subscribers. I couldn't think now. I nearly called them Bowls Buddies. Barry Tinker from Huddersfield. Plays at the Griffin as well. Hi Andy, further to your comments on bowls in schools, Moorlands Junior and Infant School at Mount in Huddersfield have offered for the past 3 or 4 years bowling lessons to year 6. I believe the bowling was straight after school and took place on Linley Lib during the summer up until this year, of course. It remains to be seen if it restarts. At least it introduces children to the game of bowls. I hadn't come across a bowling green till I was 40. Yeah, excellent point, Barry. And, you know, there's nothing stopping bowling clubs approaching schools and saying, look, we want to promote an after-school club where kids can learn to play bowls. Parents might even like it because it might save on some childcare costs. The only thing you have to have is a safeguarding officer and some willing volunteers who are able to coach the kids. Obviously you'll need some equipment as well, but again, there might be grants available for that, not just from BCGBA but from Sports England and other places. Asda, Tesco's, they all have local community projects that they're willing to donate money to. So that, from a bowls club point of view, is an excellent way of them to get kids and hopefully their parents interested in playing Crown Green bowls. The advantage of having Crown Green bowls on the curriculum is that kids will have to have a go at it, have to try it, and they might like it. After school, it's extracurricular, it's not part of the school day, and it's a hassle possibly for kids. They might not be motivated to do it. The beauty of Crown Green bowls for schools is that anyone can play it. It doesn't matter how athletic you are or unathletic you are, you can still play bowls and you're still getting exercise. But as I said in the previous episode, the downside is schools don't have bowling greens. Wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a bowl that was made out of high density foam or something that you could play in a sports hall and it wouldn't roll like a Crown Green bowl would roll forever on a shiny surface, but if it was foam and quite dense, you'd get a similar feel. I know when bowls first went indoors, they used to put rubber bands around the bowls to make it run like it would on a bowling green. It wouldn't be as slick. I don't know if if those are made or if there's an opportunity to make any or what, but if you could come up with a version of Crown Green bowls that could be played in sports halls, in schools, it'd be on the curriculum, because it's a sport that can be played by anybody. Doesn't matter if you've got a disability, doesn't matter if you're unathletic. It is the perfect game that schools could promote. Some boffins need to put their thinking caps on and come up with a bowl that can be used. Of course, the other thing is health and safety, and the school I've just worked in, I'm not sure I'd be happy at some of the kids messing about with £2.6 bowls, throwing them about. Yeah, could be some issues. But, you know, if it's in school, if it's on the curriculum, then any sort of discipline is down to teachers, not the coaches from a bowling club who are doing it out of the goodness of their heart. For me, the biggest sticking point is the coaches. Who's going to actually coach Crown Green bowls to kids in schools? We don't have any of a suitable age, type, whatever you want to say. All the coaches I've seen tend to be, you know, elderly, and I think you need a younger, somebody like Greg Smith would be ideal, somebody who's done coaching, who you know, knows how to be around kids and is near their age group, and is somebody that a young bowler could aspire to be like. But anyway, thanks Barry, might see you this weekend if you are at the Griffin. Ian Thompson said, I agree with your thoughts on the strategy of BCGBA. We need a big rethink now before the game dies. I couldn't agree more. Dave Parkin, I've been looking through these bowlers' worlds. Slough in Huddersfield had a mugs competition in the 80s that would get 400 plus entries from bowlers that had never won above club level. Huddersfield in 2019 struggled to fill their comps with 32 bowlers. Absolutely, I've been involved in a lot of the competitions in Huddersfield over the last 4 or 5 years, and the entries have dwindled dramatically. I think the first one I played in had well over 128 in, and I think the last one I played in didn't even have 32. They do have a lot of competitions throughout the year, which is good, but the lower league players just don't think they have a chance of winning them, even though they're getting big starts. Most of the players that enter are either off scratch or one, and lower league players get 4 or 5 start sometimes. So what else can you do? A mugs competition. I mean, they do have a mugs competition still in the Huddersfield League. I don't think they get that many entries, so maybe competition bowling isn't what people want. NDJD248 Charlie, hell of a username, said common sense ain't rocket science, pity you're not in the chair, Andy. Well, I did try and get involved several years ago. I've talked about the think tank that we had. I also tried to get involved with Greater Manchester County at one point, and that didn't go well at all. Went to a few meetings and nothing really got offered, or no positions were put my way, sort of thing, and it was all a bit of a waste of time. But you can only try, but sometimes you're banging your head against a brick wall. But anyway, thanks for the comment, really appreciate it. Brian Wilson, Beach Boys Brian Wilson. Once again, Andy, interesting programme. As far as schools go, could it not be running the summer months as an after-school activity like cricket or football? You could even have schools league, which in itself may create an interest for the kids. Yeah, I take the point, but like I said, once it's extracurricular, it loses a lot of the desires for getting crown green balls into schools. It's optional, basically, once it's after school. And once you take that, once you give kids the option whether they want to do something or not, they generally don't want to do it. Most schools now don't do a lot of inter-school games, football, cricket, that sort of thing. They play the odd game. They might enter the county competition, but that's about it. And you're relying on the teachers giving up their time to do it. As I said before, I think there's a massive hole that could be filled by bowls clubs offering summer. What do they? Football do, don't they? Do a week-long football camp. You could do a bowls camp. You could do an after-school club where maybe it's not all bowls. I'm just thinking off the top of my head there. I just think that if it's an option in schools, it's probably not going to happen. If it's on the curriculum, it definitely will happen. And bowls clubs have that option anyway, as long as they have a safeguarding officer and people willing to do the coaching. And of course, if they have the equipment to do that sort of after-school activity club, bowls camps, that sort of thing, start a bowls team. It's difficult. It really is. The way the season falls, schools would struggle getting a team in a league. It'd have to be an inter-school league, I guess. But the options are there. And I'm sure that there's bigger brains than mine mulling this problem over about how to get school bowls onto the school curriculum in Lancashire. It would be excellent if they manage it. A lot of problems to overcome, and that was all I was saying, really, because I really would like it to happen. It would, if it did, it would be certainly for me, who's in the middle of my teacher training, that would be something wonderful to look forward to. That there would be a possibility maybe of actually teaching bowls in schools. That would be fantastic. Whether it happens is another matter, but fingers crossed. Let's hope it does. So I'm going to leave it there because I've waffled on for about 15 minutes. Thank you so much for everyone who's commented. I've missed a few out because you were just saying how wonderful I am, and you don't need to hear that. Hopefully you'll keep the comments up. Hopefully you'll keep the likes up. They are so important. I'll be back on Monday with another blast from the past in the Bowlers World archives. I haven't decided which December issue to do, but I will have a look over the weekend. Guys, really have a good weekend. Really enjoy yourself as much as you can. Remember to stay safe if you go out. Get that mask on. Just let's hope we get through to play another season of Crane Green Bowls. So have a great weekend. See you Monday. Hope you'll join me then. Bye for now.